Hello Agriculture class, I hope this works. Last time you couldn't see my head for a while. Here in a second my camera lady will get us figured out and we'll get going. Got a lot of company, there's a lot of mosquitoes, Sydney's assisting, Chiquita's in the window, there's people moving around, so hopefully you can hear me and hopefully this will work. What do you think? Can you see me?
Yes.
Positive, good. Alright, so today's video is all about drawing to scale. We're going to talk quickly about why that's important, what that means, and how we do it. So, real quick, start with the why. Why that's important. It's important for two reasons. One is so you can accurately communicate between the builder and the planner. And what I mean by that is if you're the designer and you come up with a product that you want to build, you can draw it to scale, put it on a sheet of paper, hand it over to a builder, and they can take that and interpret it correctly and construct it. And the opposite is true. If somebody else builds it or you're surfing the interweb and find a project that you want to take and build, you can take a plan that's been drawn to scale and draw it, and that's why it's important. The second thing is, what is it? Alright, and all it is you take a really big item, and then you draw it smaller. That's all it is. So something drawn to scale just means that you take a really big item and you draw it smaller. So a big common example of this would be a house. So an architect will draw up a house on normal, a little bit normal or larger than normal sheets of paper and hand it over to builders and go from there. But it's drawn to scale because a house is huge. I'm standing next to my house, and if I try to draw this out to plan and to scale, I apologize, if I just try to draw this out in real size, I'd have to have a 50 long sheet of paper, 50-foot long sheet of paper that was 30 or 40 feet wide and I don't know, 10 or 12, 13 foot tall. It's just impractical. So when you draw something to scale, all it is, you just take a really large item, you scale it down so you can fit it on a normal sheet of paper and draw it out. Pretty self-explanatory. Well, what you got? Let me find my eraser. And lastly is the how. Now we'll do this again because I got a little ahead of myself. Got to crop it some and put this together. So let's put those ratios to real life. So let's say we have a ratio of scale that is 1 inch equals 20 feet. Again, real quick, while we're still in this unit, I did those backwards. It's testing you. 1 inch to 20 feet. If you ever see these little tick marks behind numbers, a lot of you already realize this and know this, but if you ever see the two lines that look like a quotation mark, that represents inches. If you ever see just the one dash, that represents feet. So for our ratio for this scale we're about to draw, it's 1 inch on paper equals 20 feet in real life. So let's say we have our sheet of paper here. Alright. Now this sheet of paper is where we're going to draw our plans at. Now let's say we're going to draw a barn. On our plan here, just work with me here. That's probably close to a foot. So on our plan, we've drawn up that the length of the barn is about 12 inches on a piece of paper. However, that 12 inches is really representing the next amount of feet out there in the real world. So how we find this is, as we know our ratio, it's 1 to 20, so 1 inch equals 20 feet. So now that we know that on our drawing we have 12 inches, now we'll just times that by 20. It's 240 feet. So there it is. I'd say we took a barn, we drew it to scale at 1 inch to 20 feet. On paper, it's 12 inches. In real life, it's 240 foot long. That's a huge barn, but we're going to roll with it. That's the concept. You draw it to scale, you put it on paper, it's smaller, you give it a ratio that 1 inch or one whatever unit on paper represents a certain unit in real life. You go from there. There's two ways to go about it. One, if you already know how big the building is, you work backwards until you find a scale that fits on paper, or two, you're trying to plan and predict, and you'll draw it out on paper first and then go back and put in those measurements. Let's see how it does. So, again, review, why is it important? That way you know how to read and communicate between planners and builders. What is drawing to scale? It's when you take a really large item that exists in real life and you shrink it down so you can draw it and it'll fit on a standard piece of paper. And then lastly, how you do it, you take a ratio like so, you apply it to whatever you're trying to draw. The left side of the ratio will always be how big the item is on a sheet of paper, and the right side will be how big it is in real life. Hopefully, once I put these together, it'll make sense. There will be a quiz along with this on the Google Classroom site. Take that. Hope you do well. If we have any questions, we'll go back and re-video it. We'll see how it does. Deuces.